everyone, I'm Jill Powell and I am wearing a red lip today because I'm going to show you how to accomplish a beautiful red lip with all my tips and tricks, also showing you how to pick the right red for your skin color, hair color, eye color, kind of all of that included, or how to get this beautiful Valentine's Day red lip. Red lips can be so tricky. Not only if they are not perfect, they can look a hot mess, but it's so hard to choose the right red. There's so many reds out there. Just for example, this is one of my red lipstick palettes. So you can see how many different tones are in here, as well as this NARS red palette. There's so many tones in here. So picking the right red can be super, super difficult. And honestly, as a general rule of thumb, you want to pick something that goes with your coloring. So look at your hair color, look at your skin color, look at your eye color, and then base your red off of that. Not everybody is going to be kind of fitting in this specific mold, but as a general rule of thumb, if you have blue eyes and blonde hair, typically kind of the more pinkier or blue reds are gonna look better on you because they're a little bit cooler. If you have maybe that olive skin tone and those like that, warm, auburny, reddish, chocolatey brown hair, then maybe the warmer red, something maybe with a little bit more of an orangey undertone are gonna look good. There's also like the true reds. Those are gonna look good generally on most people. So it is very difficult to choose the right shade of red. Some people will just have to try them on and see what looks best because again, I don't like to put rules, but as a general rule of thumb, try going with your coloring to help you choose the right lipstick shade. And if you want more in-depth explanation, I'll be going into that into my courses. But for this video, we're just gonna kind of touch the surface of the explanation. So you may have to try on a lot, but looking at your skin color and looking at your hair color and eye color can help. One color that is a beautiful, true blue red that looks great on 8 out of 10 people, maybe even 9 out of 10 people, is MAC Ruby Woo. It's amazing because it's this matte formula, it stays on really well, it is like a true, beautiful blue red, and that's what I'm going to be using on myself today. So I'm gonna give you some tips on how to create a perfect red lip. I like to start out with a powder foundation. So this one is Laura Mercier. It's typically the powder that I use on myself when I'm touching up. I don't use powder at the beginning of the day, but I do throughout the day. So I like to take just on a sponge and all over my lips. You can do foundation on your lips and then a powder if you tend to have a lot of color. My lips have hardly any color. As you can see, once I powder them, they are almost non-existent. So I do like to do this because it absorbs any excess moisture and it just helps create that perfect lip line. So everything else is kind of blotted out, matted out, and precise around the edge of your lips. So you don't want to have any like blemishes or anything showing. You want that to be really clean. So once you have a clean slate, you can start with your lip liner. You can use a lip primer as well. Today I am not going to be using one, but that is another option for longevity and to help everything glide on and stay on. So the lip liner I'm going to be using today is by NARS, and this one is Jungle Red, I believe. I think. Yep, Jungle Red. Honestly, I love this pencil. This is one of my favorite red pencils. It glides right on, it stays. It's creamy, but it's not too creamy, and it's a really, really good red. So I'm going to start with my Cupid's bow because I like to make sure that that's really precise. And you can start by making like a little X like that. So once you have your Cupid's bow even, and mine's still not even, so I keep evening it out, but that is the important part. You want to make sure you have that even first. I think that's pretty even. I like to look at it from different angles to see. So once you have your Cupid's bow, or this mini mustache at the top of my lips, basically, then I like to get the center of the bottom. So your bottom lip just in the center. I give kind of like a little, like, smirk. I don't know, it tightens my lips a little bit and it pushes my lip line out a little bit, so then I can extend it because my lips are a little bit on the smaller side, so. And I do have a little more lip line I can work with, so I will overdraw just a little bit. As you can see, if you can see up close, where I drew the red is the edge of my lip, but then I do have a little more room for a lip line. And then I tighten it just to make sure it's even. And precise. Okay, now we're going to connect the corners. So I personally like to give my lips a little bit more volume. So I find that if you start in the corner and draw inward on either side, you create this really beautiful, like, arched shape. Whereas if I start on my Cupid's bow and draw down, the shape of my hand actually creates more of like a swoop, and it will give you less volume. So I personally like to kind of create that McDonald's arch, if you will. So starting in the corners and connecting towards your Cupid's bow is my next step. And I added a little bit of volume right in here. So I did overdraw that a little bit just to give my lips a little extra volume. Same thing on the other side. Adding volume in that same spot. And then we are going to connect the bottom corners. And I do like to open my mouth so I can get right in those corners. Notice how I go over the liner a lot. I'm going in sheer layers and just building that color and the opacity. I find that you have a little more control if you do it this way rather than going in really, really dark and heavy with a heavy hand. It's easier to build. So that's why I do it this way. Okay, so I'm gonna perfect just a couple little edges. You can also fill in your whole lip with the lip liner. A lot of people will do that because it helps with the longevity of the pencil, and it might help you see any areas that need some fixing or maybe that are out of balance. So I'm just going to fill in a little bit. I do not wear a red lip that often, so this is a lot for me. So I definitely want to give my top lip a little bit more volume again because it's just not that big. So I like to cheat it a little bit. And then let's give my bottom lip a little bit more too. Why not? You can maybe take a little bit more, but let's do the lipstick. So now that I'm done lining and filling in, I'm gonna take Ruby Woo. And really layer it on there. Give my bottom lip a little more volume by pressing them together. And now I'm gonna go back in and give a tiny bit more perfection with the lip liner. Now that it's gliding on that pen or on the lipstick. You can also add dimension too with a deeper lip liner. So I could go in and kind of chisel the edges with maybe Brick from MAC, something that's a little bit deeper, more that burgundy color. Or you can keep it nice and red like this. This is a great Valentine's Day red, or that kind of pinup red look. And then if you want to, you can perfect the edges with a little bit of a concealer. So I've got this handy dandy concealer palette. And using a tiny little brush, this one is by Smith, it's the 304. It's got a nice flat edge to it. So I just get a tiny bit of concealer, and then you can really clean up those edges to perfect your red lip. So just a little bit at a time. And you don't really want to go over the red, you just want to kind of razor sharp that edge. And I like to wipe it off between each time because that will help you not transfer any red on the outer perimeter of your lips. And you can take your time with it and just make sure that it is nice and perfect. And then if you want to, you can also powder your lip with a translucent powder, and this will help to make it set. I personally like the way that Ruby Woo looks and that kind of matte, creamy matte finish, so I don't want to make it look too dry. So I'm going to leave it just like this, and this is a great way to get a red lip. Okay, so just to recap, to get this red lip, start out with powdering your lips with a powder foundation. I chose Laura Mercier. This is the one I use to touch up with throughout the day. So just putting powder all over your lips, a powder foundation can help to even out the color, make everything really clean for the edges, as well as dry out any excess oils or anything on your lips so that the lipstick will stay on a little bit longer. Then I went ahead with NARS Jungle Red and lined my lips as well as filled it in. And you want to start with that Cupid's bow, create your little X, and make sure that your center is nice and symmetrical. I also like to fill in from the corners to the Cupid's bow to create more volume, kind of giving you that McDonald's arches to create a bigger upper lip. I personally need a little extra love in that area. So that's how I create my extra volume. Then you can go in with your lipstick. Mine was MAC Ruby Woo, And I like to apply a decent amount of lipstick just to get that color nice and strong on there. Blend your lips together, and if you need to perfect and go back in with the lip liner to correct any mistakes or to get the edges nice and strong again, go ahead and do that. And then to perfect the edges, I use that tiny little brush from Smith, the 304 brush, with a little bit of concealer from my concealer palette. And just cleaned up the edges just to make sure that they are nice and razor sharp and look really strong and clean. And if you would like, you may set with a translucent powder just to make sure it stays on longer. I chose to skip that step because I already filled in with a lip liner and a matte lipstick, so I feel that this is gonna stay on long enough. And last but not least, an extra little tip to avoid lipstick getting on your teeth. You can always get any excess lipstick off the inner part of your mouth by doing that. So that is getting any extra lipstick, and that is what would get on my teeth. So hopefully there's none on my teeth. Thanks again for watching my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment below what you want to see next. All of the products used in my video are also linked below. And if you want to see more, follow me anywhere at Powell Glam. Thanks again.